Hello and welcome. You're watching India Global. I am Vedant Agarwal. Well, this week we take a look at an issue that's of huge concern for Indian students in the US. We'll have the voices that matter. Indian students on India Global this week. They talk about their safety concerns and their fears in the US. But first up, the headlines on India Global this week. 3 Indian students dead in US in just a week. Shreyas Reddy found dead in Ohio. The Indian consulate says no foul play suspected at this stage, but earlier deaths in Georgia and Indiana raise more concerns. Doubters' doomsday scenario fizzles as US approves key weapons sale to India. The US says the deal gives India enhanced maritime security. And turmoil in India's backyard. President Muizu wades into stormy waters. The opposition prepares to impeach President Muizu. The opposition miffed with Muizu's India out pitch. So, well, from India out to Muizu out himself. This is India's aid to Maldives higher than last year's budget allocation but lower than the actual spend. Jaishankar says we must sit across the table and talk. The latest on the Israel-Hamas war. Israel turns focus to Rafah, where Hamas weighs new ceasefire proposal. And well, this clip is going viral on social media. Zuckerberg apologizes to families in a court hearing, in a Senate hearing. 5 tech CEOs grilled by US lawmakers over child safety. And well, Moody's has predicted that Joe Biden will beat Trump by a higher margin. This as a Democratic presidential nomination contest to begin with South Carolina's presidential primary on Saturday. Meanwhile, India's volatile neighbor, ex-Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife jailed for 14 years. So, well, the Kaptan is out of the game. This is Pakistan's Game of Thrones to begin as the country goes to polls in next week. And well, Nawaz gets back at Imran Khan. 8th February is when Pakistan goes to polls. And well, our big focus on India Global this week. Another Indian student in the United States, Shreyas Reddy, has been found dead in Cincinnati, Ohio, making it the 3rd such case this week. Well, this has raised larger concerns as well because remember, 19-year-old Shreyas Reddy was a student, a business student in Ohio, and there were 2 earlier deaths as well reported in the US. We'll get voices that matter, Indian students, to speak up on security concerns there. But first, take a look at this report. Authorities have ruled out any foul play or a possibility of a hate crime in the case. The Indian consulate in New York says a police investigation is underway. The consulate continues to remain in touch with the family and is extending all possible assistance to them. Earlier this week, Neil Acharya, a student at the Purdue University, was found dead. Acharya was reported missing by his mother on Sunday. Gauri had sought help to find him in a post on social media. According to her, he was last seen by an Uber driver who dropped him off at the campus. Hours later, a body was found on the university campus and was identified as that of Acharya. In another case, Vivek Saini, a resident of Haryana's Panchkula, was hammered to death by a homeless man in Georgia on January the 16th. Vivek Saini, pursuing an MBA in Georgia, worked part-time at a convenience store that sheltered a homeless man, Julian Faulkner. Saini had reportedly given the man a bag of chips, water, and even a jacket. On January the 16th, the 25-year-old reportedly refused to give Faulkner free food, and this led to the grisly attack. And well, joining me live on India Global now, Payal, Sanya and Prithvi, all students, Indian students in the US, to discuss their safety concerns. But at the very outset, let me give a disclaimer as well. The 3 incidents that we're talking about are completely unrelated, but we look at security concerns that students in the US may face, particularly Indian students. Payal, going across to you first, how do you react to the recent deaths in the US? Because of course, this is something that you and your peers must have discussed. What was your first response?
Definitely, this is extremely unfortunate, especially happening in 1 week. We don't know what to say, we don't know what to think. But I also want to repeat what Namrata said. We do not feel that these are hate crimes because the universities, for example, Pace University is one of the most inclusive universities that I have been to. and we actually celebrate festivals. Last October, we had a Diwali festival, which was attended by 500 students. Pace University funded the festival along with Consulate General of India, and also all the deans, presidents, vice presidents, everyone attended it, and they do participate and they give all support to us. The Consulate General of India, we have all the email IDs, names, addresses of the students given to them. They also have psychological support for us, especially for Pace University. We have 1,700 active members right now in Pace Indian Student Association. So I do not think that these are hate crimes, but definitely it is scary for the students.
So that's a very important point you're making there, Payal. But just taking a cue from what you said, your university, as you said, is extremely safe and it differs from one university to another, one district to another. But talk to us about what kind of resources are actually available to the Indian students there in the US. How do you actually, who do you approach? How do you go about such a situation?
I would not say that it's not difficult. It is difficult because, see, I come from a city, like same, the people who come from cities, we are used to this life, but there are hundreds of students that come from villages.
Yes.
And they have not seen this life. They have not seen that how easy people can get addicted to drugs, how easy you can get attracted to peer pressure, and so you lose focus on what you've come here for. We have been in city and we've been trained how to behave. We've seen the multicultural, but I'm not sure that students who've come from villages have seen that. So it is very difficult for them. But at the same time, I'm telling you, the universities, the student organizations, and the Indian consulate, I repeat, because I am the president and I also work at the career services department at Pace University from past 1 year. There is anything and everything that Pace University or any other university in New York, I'm sure, does to make the students feel safe. We have fire security norms. We have workshops.
So, Pal, that's good to hear because, of course, training and awareness are really at the core of the problem. But Prithvi, let me go across to you. Prithvi is a student at the New York University. Your reaction to these deaths and also the larger issue of campus safety, because remember, it is about that. It is about how safe Indian students feel in campuses abroad, particularly in the US. Go ahead.
Firstly, I would like to share my condolences with the families of the grieved members. And me coming from NYU, I graduated last year. I've been in the city for 2.5 years, and I come from Bangalore. So talking about New York City in general is highly cosmopolitan, very similar to the number of people and population which Karnataka, Bangalore shares. So for me, as coming as an international student here, it felt like home. And given that we come from a situation where in India, where we see people of diverse culture and we know how to handle people of different communities, and given the cultural aspects and how diverse India is, it was something very similar to the atmosphere which New York City offers.
See change, because that is also important. Gun violence has been on the rise in the US, particularly in the past couple of months, past couple of years. Do you see some kind of change and a concerted effort at establishing an awareness plan or some sort of training towards this?
So NYU has a very good campus safety system which helps monitor students. For example, to give you an example, they have a campus safety program which allows the remote taxi service to students after late evening to their respective locations. So that is very it's good to as a student to utilize those options which are provided by the university. And also around the NYU campus there are few emergency alert systems which is easily accessible by any student to raise notification to the campus safety for immediate assistance. So there are few measures and which are taken by the university to assure international students as high safety. So this is something which I don't feel very unsafe in the city. It's mainly how a student navigates to stick to the laws and which the US government clearly gives to international students who come here. So as long as you're following the laws and try to follow everything in a legal manner, I feel like the safety of students are well appreciated here.
Okay, Sanya Bora is also with us, who's a student at the New York Film Academy at Los Angeles. Sanya, let's discuss problems peculiar to the US. Of course, there are problems like serial killing, etc., which has come down. But of course, in one of these cases, that Indian origin student was actually hammered to death, allegedly by a homeless drug addict. So, how do you think you are well armored when it comes to these problems very peculiar to the US?
The place where I am right now, which is Los Angeles, there I haven't seen as such yet, but yes, there are ways we have been told by like some of my American friends how to sometimes deal with homeless people because they are pretty unpredictable. They can either, if you don't make eye contact with them or anything, they will leave you, they won't care, or if like, or they might follow you. It's literally on your luck or on your day how those homeless people will react because in a way, yes, they are pretty unpredictable. So it's really unfortunate for what happened to that student. But yeah, plus also it is very important when if you are going in an area which is like if you hear that it's not really safe at a particular time and you have no choice but to go there for something, you should always be prepared with like have some sort of self-defense there or have some people around you. So that's what I have been told by the people here to how to be safe around during those situations.
All right, so very articulate voices there, students talking about their safety concerns, what they fear, largely all of them saying, well, that they do feel safe and there are measures in place. But joining me now, very special guest to discuss this further, Swati Chanda, who's an adjunct professor at the American University, is with us. Also, Narendra, an adjunct professor at the American University. They've authored a very interesting book, Crimson Fall, which revolves around this particular issue. Rohit Sharma is also with us, who is an immigration expert. Swati, going across to you first. You and your husband have authored a very interesting book about this very problem that we're discussing. What give us a sense of the broad contours of this problem, because you've done extensive research on this, met a couple of students as well. So over to you. Tell us about what, according to you, are the key aspects of this problem when it comes to Indian students in the US.
Thank you for having us on the show. We have been in the States as graduate students ourselves a long time ago and have been working there in the faculty of a couple of universities for some time now. I think there are a number of things that we need to understand. One is the changing landscape of higher education in the United States. So, for example, when we went as graduate students, the chances for an assistantship or a scholarship may have been higher. At the same time, there were very few opportunities or for work outside of campus, off-campus work, as it was called. So today, with so many students aspiring to go there and Indian students enrolling in the United States in even larger and larger numbers, some of the issues that have become more acute are how to support yourself there. And as you can imagine, that would cause immense stress.
Yes.
A lot of students take huge loans in order to be able to support their graduate work.
So that's an important point you're making there, Swati. To navigate all of this is, of course, extremely difficult. Rohit Sharma, come in on this because you have met a lot of students yourself. Do you sort of encounter these kind of anxieties that a lot of these students harbor?
Yeah, first and foremost, my prayers are with the parents. it's an irreparable loss, a loss of a life, at such a young age. Even the words cannot heal the hurt. Having said so, yes, when we talk about these students, landing up in these countries, anxiety itself is about, going to a international destination and studying, and US is giant of a country that these students actually look forward to. But I will still will take these incidents and will take these incidents in isolation. We cannot read these incidents and try to talk about the overall approach of US or Americans towards Indians, because all said and done, US continues to be the most popular destination. In fact, if you just go last year itself, in between June to August, the number of visas that are issued towards Indian students has broken the record.
Yes.
In fact, India comes under one of the most sought after country across the globe. So
Yes.
when the government has this kind of an approach towards Indian students, they're being very welcomed. So these incidents are very unfortunate.
That's true. In fact,
Yes.
times have changed in the sense that perhaps racism, etc., are not problems as pervasive as they were earlier.
True.
And as you said, US is sort of very welcoming when it comes to Indian students. But Mr. Narendra, talk to us about what prompted you to write this particular book. Were there certain specific experiences that you sort of encountered or witnessed, or was it something else? And also talk to us about what our governments can do to make sure that our students there are safe, particularly Indian students.
Sure. First, I would like to give my condolences to the parents of the 3 students. We feel really sorry for them. So I want to address the issue of student safety in the US. While the campuses themselves may be safe places, what is happening today and what was not happening earlier when we were students in the US is that many of them are doing off-campus jobs. They are able to find these jobs. These are cash-only jobs. They could be delivery boys. They could be working in grocery stores. They could be working in gas stations. A lot of these jobs put our Indian students in dangerous situations because they are either working late or working.
Because in one of these cases, that student was actually working in a department store, in a convenience store, which is why perhaps he was not, as I asked other students also, not prepared to deal with such a situation. Would you agree, Swati Chanda, very quickly? I have asked 30 seconds remaining.
Yes, I would agree. A lot of students who go there are unprepared for that, as well as I think one of the big things is in some of the campuses, because of the cold, because of the weather, they're unprepared for the isolation and loneliness sometimes that it generates. The fact that, it gets dark and cold. You have to walk because you don't have a car.
Yes.
And it makes like basic things like getting groceries very difficult in sub-zero temperature. I don't think we are able to see all of these things.
Yes.
Obviously,
and it's also certainly, as you said, on a subterranean level that all of these factors play out.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
perhaps you're not prepared for that, and it's a cultural shock as well, as you said. But thanks very much, all of you, for joining us on this very important debate. Of course, these are unrelated incidents, but have thrown up larger trends that we must look at as US continues to be the most popular destination for Indian students. But well, staying with news of the US State Department has notified the Congress of its approval of 31 MQ-9B drones to India. The total military equipment sale is worth almost $4 billion. Well, India had proposed to purchase 31 MQ-9B Sky Guardian drones during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's state visit to the US last year. The Biden administration's approval is an important landmark in the government-to-government deal.
I cannot give you a timeline. This was the initial step today, notifying Congress. The exact timeline of the delivery is something that we will explore with the government of India over the coming months. I will say, with respect to the deal itself, the $3.99, almost $4 billion sale of 31 MQ-9B Sky Guardian aircraft will provide India with an enhanced maritime security and maritime domain awareness capability. It offers India outright ownership and a 16-fold increase in the number of aircraft.
And well, moving now to our neighbor in the backyard, Maldives, and a political turmoil there yet again. Well, the man who campaigned on the India out plank in the island nation, President Muizu, seems to be surfing on troubled waters sooner than he imagined. His increasing closeness to the dragon has only got him under fire within his own country. Well, Muizu may face an impeachment motion soon. Meanwhile, the Maldives delegation held a core group meeting in Delhi. This is the second time the core group met amid the ongoing discussions between the two countries. Take a look at this report. A violent brawl between MPs inside the Maldivian parliament, with the opposition refusing to approve 3 of Muizu's ministers in a vote on Sunday. And it didn't end there. Monday saw MDP, Maldives opposition party, which holds a majority in parliament, claim it has enough signatures of support to impeach Muizu. Among the 87 lawmakers in the People's Majlis, Maldives' legislative body, over 30 are in support of a no-confidence motion. The opposition is cornering Muizu on his anti-India stance. They described his increasing closeness to the dragon as being detrimental to the long-term development of Maldives, even accusing him of alienating Maldives from a long-standing ally, India. India refused to comment on the political turmoil in its backyard.
These are internal matters of Maldives and we would not like to comment on them. So that is where I would leave it.
But the cost of gunning for India is not just political for Muizu. The anti-India stand is already hurting his country economically. This is New Delhi that makes up for almost 10% of Maldives tourism, a key pillar of its economy, cut its aid to Muizu's government by 10% in its latest budget.
Honorable Speaker, I present the interim budget for 24-25.
In the interim budget 2024, India allocated nearly 600 crore rupees for developmental assistance to the Maldives. The last budget saw an allocation of 400 crore rupees, though the revised estimates indicate that India ended up spending nearly 770 crore rupees last year. This means India's developmental assistance for the Maldives this year is lower by 170 crore rupees than what was spent last year. As Muizu finds himself trapped in a political turmoil, the question on everyone's mind: how will stability in the Indian Ocean be maintained if Maldives spins off into an unstable future with China luring it eastward? Vedant Agarwal for NDTV. And when in an exclusive interview to NDTV's editor-in-chief Sanjay Pugalia, S. Jaishankar, our foreign minister, made it clear that internal politics must not interfere with governance, particularly when it comes to diplomacy with other nations. Take a look.
पिछले दिनों 2 हिकअप्स हैं, बड़ी बात नहीं है वैसे तो बड़ी हिस्ट्री में, लेकिन कनाडा और मालदीव्स 2 घटनाएं ऐसी हुई जो बड़ी अजीबो-गरीब थी. दोनों से भारत के संबंध अच्छे हैं. तो अगर मैं सवाल को ओवर सिंप्लीफाई करूं और ये पूछूं कि क्या मैं मालदीव जाऊं?
नहीं, देखिए ऐसा है, आपने ये नहीं पूछा कि अब मैं कनाडा जाऊं.
दोनों.
मालदीव्स की जो आप बात कर रहे हैं ये कुछ बिल्कुल अलग विषय है. हमारे पड़ोस में क्या होता है कि पड़ोस में भी डेमोक्रेसी है, इलेक्शंस होते हैं, इलेक्शंस में पार्टियां पोजीशंस लेती हैं. अब हम एक बड़े पड़ोसी हैं, ये स्वाभाविक है कि कभी कभी उनकी पॉलिटिक्स में
इस्तेमाल
नहीं, हाँ, हमारा उपयोग हो सकता है, हम भी एक विषय बन जाते हैं, कभी कभी विवाद का विषय भी बन जाते हैं. मेरा कहना इतना ही है कि एक बार कोई भी जो पॉलिटिक्स में जो कहना, जो पोजीशन लेना एक चीज़ है. एक बार आप ऑफिस में आ जाते हैं, आपकी जिम्मेदारियां बदल जाती, तो फिर आपको माने बहुत सोच समझ के जो भी आपको कहना है, सोशल मीडिया में कहना या माने मीटिंग में कहना या मीडिया में
कंस्टिट्यूएंसी को कहना,
हाँ, तो माने यू कैन नॉट बिहेव इन गवर्नमेंट लाइक यू बिहेव
इन इलेक्शन.
करेक्ट. सो मेरी अपेक्षा तो है कि हम लोग बैठ के, क्योंकि हमारी कुछ मुलाकातें हो चुके हैं, जब दुबई में उनके राष्ट्रपति जी हमारे प्रधानमंत्री से मिले थे. मैं अपने काउंटर पार्ट से 2 बार मिल चुका हूँ, युगांडा में भी मिला था मैं. तो मैं तो चाहूँगा कि हम माने बहुत एक किस्म से मैच्योर तरीके से बैठें। अगर उनके यहाँ कुछ विषय हैं तो हमने कभी इसको मना नहीं किया और सोल्यूशन निकालें, क्योंकि अंत में हम पड़ोसी हैं। अब जैसे वो कहते हैं हिस्ट्री एंड ज्योग्राफी, दे लीव यू नो चॉइस।
And well, shifting focus now from Maldives to our volatile neighbor. Well, Pakistan is set to witness another chapter in its turbulent politics. And as it goes to polls next week, the Kaptan is out of the game, ruling out the possibility of a clash of the arch rivals, the Punjab Lion Nawaz and Imran Khan. Well, after his dramatic homecoming, is Nawaz Sharif, once the army's nemesis, set to return as Prime Minister? That is a big question. And joining me now from Pakistan, from Karachi, Yusra Askari, senior journalist. Yusra, so now, well, Pakistan is on track, polls to be held on February the 8th. But of course, a big concern is whether the polls are truly going to be free and fair. And also talk to us about how the script has played out. You know, Nawaz Sharif's dramatic homecoming, and now, of course, is the military, in a sense, paving the way for Nawaz's return?
That does remain to be seen, but what we do know, what we're anticipating, what the narrative playing out on our streets tells us is that Nawaz Sharif is likely to take charge as Pakistan's next Prime Minister. That isn't set in stone. There could be various variables that come into play. There could be a situation whereby which multiple smaller parties could be contenders to form a coalition. But at the moment, there is one thing that we know. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan will not be at the helm of his party as they take to the polls. With 3 large cases against him and 2 convictions in place, he at the moment is struggling to find any way out before the poll. So that is the only given, whereas a predictable situation would see Nawaz Sharif at the helm of affairs not very far from now.
Right, Yusra, you make an interesting point there, but also talk to us about how the military is, in a sense, going to be involved in the polls, because, you know, it is, as it's known in the subcontinent, that ultimately it's the military which will be calling the shots. Do you think it would truly be a free and fair elections, as I asked you?
The fact is that we are having polls on the 8th of February, which many did not anticipate. We did see an off-roading of the elections, so to say. But the fact that we are having elections does reinstate some, trust in the democratic process. But what is clearly evident is that the army has not allowed or will not allow Imran Khan to return to the fray in electoral politics. Another given, his party is by far the most popular political party on the streets, within the youth, within large sections of society. So the dichotomy of what people want and what people will see in their country take charge over the next few years, so to say,
right,
will be 2 polar opposites. So we have to weigh the situation over the next week and a half, and how things take shape.
Yusra, thanks very much for joining us with that update from Karachi. Well, of course, it's going to be another chapter in Pakistan's turbulent politics, so to speak, but hopefully the political instability will come to an end soon, because, of course, having a neighbor that has a politically unstable environment is never good for any country. Well, we'll keep a close watch on those developments. That's it on India Global this week. We'll see you next time, same place, same time.